Hello, my name's Roisin and it's October, which means we are entering the final quarter of the year and it is time for the end of the year tag. I've done this video every year, I think, since I've been on YouTube. It was created by Ariel Bisset. I will leave the original in the description if you'd like to go and check that out yourself. This is just a tag to check in towards the end of the year, see if there are any things that need wrapping up, any plans for the last 3 months. So the first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? I've actually been pretty good this year at wrapping up everything I've been reading, so I haven't, or DNFing stuff if I've not been interested. There's not that much that is hanging over me, but one book that I have started and still need to finish is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. This is the pick for the big book club for September and October. We will be doing a live show with Nate from Nathan's Nook at the end of this month. I probably will have announced that by the time this video goes out, but I haven't by the time I'm filming it, so I'm not sure when it will be yet, but I will let you know. And I think there's probably still time to read it. It is a big chunky 700-page horror novel translated from the Spanish by Megan McDowell about a father and son who are mediums who have the ability to talk to the dead and perform like occultist rituals, and are related to this secret society called the Order, who want to take control of the sun. And we are meeting them just after they have lost the son's mother. And so there is dealing with grief and a lot of haunting ghosts. So I am partway through that one, but I will finish it by the end of October for the live show, of course. But it's the only one I think that I have not finished in a timely manner. I'm in the middle of some other books, but I only started them a few days ago. Like, they're not hanging over me. Do you have an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year? And I have a couple. Are they here? That is the question. Ooh. So the first one I have is Beyond Black by Hilary Mantel. Actually, Our Share of Night is a pretty autumnal book to transition to the end of the year, but so is Beyond Black by Hilary Mantel. I love this edition. And this is a story of this will be the first Hilary Mantel that I've read that is not historical fiction. This one is just contemporary and is about another medium. So ghosts and ghost stories, definitely autumnal vibes. This is someone who lives in commuter belt town of London with a sidekick who passes on messages from the dead, but behind her smiling persona is a desperate woman. The next life holds terrors that she must conceal from her clients, and her own waking hours are plagued by the spirits of men from her past. So a lot of haunting, a lot of ghosts. I love ghost stories, literary ghost stories, some of my favourite things to read. So I definitely feel like this one is a nice autumnal spooky cozy read. Looking forward to reading that. And then I also have Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I have the audiobook of that one and I've been meaning to read it for a very long time. I just love this cover. I think it's one of my favourite covers. And this is a Southern Gothic fantasy. Southern Gothic is a genre that I have wanted to get into. There are a lot of classics, but this is a more contemporary version. They're about the Ku Klux Klan spreading fear and violence among the vulnerable. They plan to bring hell on earth, but even Ku Kluxes can die. Standing in their way is Maurice Bordeaux and her fellow resistance fighters, a foul-mouthed sharpshooter and a Harlem hellfighter. Armed with blade, bullet and bomb, they hunt their hunters and send the Klux demons straight to hell. So it sounds like it's going to be quite plotty, but it is a horror book, and one that I definitely am excited to get to and think, yeah, I'm leaning into the spooky season this year. Next, is there a new release you're still waiting for? Well, I do have a video of autumnal releases, autumn new releases. So there are, I think, 10 or 11 books on that list. We'll leave that linked in the cards above if you want to go and check it out. But some of the ones that I'm definitely excited for by writers that I've read from before. We have Let Us Descend by Jessamine Ward. Sing Unburied Sing is a book that I absolutely adored, one of my favourites, another ghost story, and I really love Jessamine Ward writing in that book, but I haven't read any of her other works, but she has one coming out this year, Let Us Descend, and this one is also Gothic historical fiction, so in fitting with the theme of the video. On a slave plantation in the Carolinas, Annis has survived in the light of her mother's resilience, comforted by stories of her African warrior grandmother. Everything she knows she learned from her mother. How to grow up in a world shrouded in darkness. When she is sold south by the white enslaver who fathered her, Annis must venture onward through the rich but unforgiving landscapes of the American South alone, from the rice fields of the Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans and into the fearsome heart of a Louisiana sugar plantation. Searching for relief in memories of her mother, she opens herself to a world beyond her own, teeming with spirits of earth, water, history and myth. So yeah, I'm really excited to read that. Like I said, I love Jessamine Ward's writing, and this one sounds right up my street. Ghosty, dark, historical fiction. And then the other one that I'm excited to read is non-fiction, and this is by Emma Dabiri, who wrote Don't Touch My Hair, which is a non-fiction that I really enjoyed, exploring racism and blackness, anti-blackness through the medium of hair. And this is Disobedient Bodies. The subtitle is Reclaim Your Unruly Beauty. And I think this is going to be a short essay. What White People Can Do Next was also like a really short essay that Emma Dabiri wrote, and I think this one is similar in terms of length. What part of your beautiful self were you taught to hate? We spend a lot of time trying to improve our defects according to society's ideals of beauty, but these ideals are often reductive, tyrannical and commercially entangled, and are imposed on us by oppressive systems and further strengthened by our own conditioned self-loathing. This book explores the ways in which we can rebel against and subvert the systems, and I think that sounds like it could be a little wishy-washy, a little self-love, a little like uninteresting to me, a little individualist, but I know from Emma Dabiri's writing that she is not like that, and I think it's going to be much more about structures and capitalism and the effect that it has on the individual, and so that is something I'm more interested in reading. I think if this was by another writer, I wouldn't necessarily be interested in it, but I trust Emma Dabiri, so I'm gonna give it a go. It's also in relation to an exhibition at the Wellcome Collection. I do have a video on my channel where I went to the Wellcome Collection, so I'll leave that in the cards above, so maybe I'll go and check that one out in October. Next question is, what are 3 books you need to read before the end of the year? I'm going to cheat and mention 4 because I can't help myself. The first one is Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is the final choice for the Big Book Club for this year. This is fantasy historical fiction set in Oxford, in a world where the central power of the British Empire is in relation to words, linguistics, translation, and one boy from Cantor is invited to Oxford to become part of the Oxford University's Royal Institute of Translation, and it is about colonialism and racism within the academy and violent imperial power, and it is written in an interesting way in that there are a lot of like footnotes, so it is written kind of academically. I know a lot of people have described it as dark academia. I know it is very political. I know it is also very divisive, so I'm excited to read that to see what I think of it, and I'm reading it with Doz, so she will also come and give her thoughts on it, and I'm excited to give that one a go. Then the other ones I have are, I made a video at the start of this year of 23 books that I want to read in 2023, and at this point in the year I only have 3 left, which I'm quite impressed with. It's definitely better than I have done in previous years. I have often forgotten this list altogether, but this year I did make like a Notion for my reading. I have a video of me doing that as well. If there's room up there, I will put that up there, and so I think I've like kept that list much more in my mind. So 3 books, 1 for October, 1 November, 1 December, should be easy enough to fit them all in. One of those is The Aeneid by Shadi Barsht. I've talked many times on this channel about how I have a classics degree, but I've never read the Aeneid in its entirety, despite part of my dissertation being based on the Aeneid. So I really need to get to it, and this is the translation I'm most excited about. I enjoy modern translations, translations that aren't trying to hark back to some kind of poetic past that doesn't make any sense because it's being translated from Latin anyway, so why would Shakespearean or Romantic poets register be the correct register to translate it into? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation about translation, but I am really excited. Well, I really wanted to read this one, and I've been really meaning to, but I also find it quite intimidating because it is a Latin classic, and whilst I do know the story and have read various parts of it over the course of my life, still intimidated because I think some of those older translations are really boring, and hopefully this one won't be. And then for non-fiction that I want to read by the end of the year, we have Imperium by Ryszard Kapuscinski. This is about the Soviet Union and a sort of journalistic. Ryszard Kapuscinski was a journalist, and it is his exploration of the Soviet Union from the time they came to his hometown in Poland in 1939 up until the fall of the Berlin Wall. And he travels around the Soviet Union, the vast expanse of the Soviet Empire, interviewing ordinary people to see what their experience is like of the time. And I am excited to read this, to get to see a non-fiction version of what that was like, to see it is supposed to be a very engaging narrative non-fiction that is very easy to read, which is something that I am looking forward to. I've heard really great things about this one, about his writing, so I think that it is going to be like a much more engaging read, and so I shouldn't be as intimidated by it. I should get going. And then the final one I want to read is The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi, which I do have a physical copy of somewhere. I'm not sure where I've put it, but I am excited to read that one too. But this one is another kind of gothic historical fiction with a kind of creepy, dark vibe, so definitely where I'm leaning towards for this autumn. Maybe I should make a reading vlog of just that. But this one is set in the 16th century in England, in a slightly like different world, where people who are condemned to death confess their sins, and Sin Eater has to eat certain object relating to their sin in order to like cleanse them, and our main character is a 14-year-old girl who has been sentenced to take on this job after she is convicted for stealing a loaf of bread, but as courtiers in the court start dying, there is a mystery afoot, and so it is a twisty, dark, like historical fiction. I'm hoping that it will be well written and interesting and not. I have such mixed feelings about historical fiction. I know I have some of them that I've mentioned already, but they are by trusted writers, whereas I am a little more unsure now about historical fiction in general. But I'm hoping that The Sin Eater will be a good one and that I will enjoy it. Question number 5 is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? And I think there's definitely, I mean, I don't think there's anything, I don't think I would be shocked if my favourite book of the year came out in the final 3 months of the year. So I think this is an oddly phrased question. I think the same every year. Favourite books can come at any time. And like if I think back to previous years, the Booker Prize shortlist, The Promise by Damon Galgut was one of my favourite books that year. And I can't remember if there was one the year before, but oftentimes my favourite books come more towards the end of the year. And I think I will read the shortlist this year. I don't know. As of filming this video, it hasn't been announced just yet. I think it's coming out tomorrow. So I don't know what's actually on the shortlist, and the long list has been met with like a collective shrug. Like everyone's kind of confused by the shortlist and not enamoured of it. If you haven't seen Matthew Schraper like reviewing every book on the shortlist in one video, I will leave that linked in the description, because it was a very amusing watch. And so I've been unsure about whether I want to read the shortlist or not, but there are some books on there that do intrigue me, so I'm probably going to read them, and hopefully one of them will be my favourite. Who knows? It didn't happen last year. I didn't fall in love with the books on the shortlist last year, I don't think. So who knows? But I'm going to give it another go, like I did with the Women's Prize this year, where I was like, do I need to keep reading these books? Are they really for me? But we'll see what happens. You'll know better than I do by the point this video comes out. And then another one I'm hoping to read, I haven't put it on any TBRs, so I'm not saying definitely I will read it, but is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Because I read 100 Years of Solitude last year and I really, really loved it. And I do have a copy of 100 Years of Solitude. It is a copy that is signed from my mum to my dad the year before I was born. So it is quite a sentimental copy, although it is falling to pieces. But I enjoyed his work so much in the past that I feel like I want to read more of it. And this is about a man who is in love with a woman, but he can't be with her, I believe. She rebuffed him and married someone else. He like loves her over the course of like decades and decades, even though he still gets into relationships with other people, etc. But her husband is killed trying to retrieve his pet parrot from a mango tree, and our main character seizes the chance to declare his enduring love. So it is love in the twilight of their life and an enduring love that lasts 5 decades. I think it and 100 Years of Solitude are both like Marquez's most famous books, so I definitely want to give that one a try as well. Then the final question is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? And I think this is the first year that I have to say no. Normally I'm very much an in advance planner, but I haven't planned anything this year. I don't know what I'm reading next year. I don't know absolutely anything about my channel or whether or I'm going to do anything. The one thing I'm contemplating, the one thing I need your input on really, is the big book book club. It has been really fun doing it this year. I've had a great time in all of my live shows. It's been fun, like, getting to know some other members of the book community a bit better, and hearing you guys' thoughts on books and things, reading them along with you. But I'm not sure whether to continue next year or not. I do have other big books that I want to read. There are several on my shelf. We've got the Goldfinch, the Lacuna, various other things, various other big books that I do want to read. But let me know in the comments if you are interested in me continuing the book club. Did you enjoy it this year? Do you want to see more of it? I would love to hear your feedback on that one. And that's the only thing that kind of I'm tentatively planning. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. That's the end of the year tag. I'm not going to tag anyone. People do this if they want to. But if you would like to answer the questions and you don't make videos, please feel free to do so in my comments. I would love to chat to you about how you plan your reading and what you are looking forward to in the last 3 months of the year. Thank you for watching. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you again very, very soon. Bye bye.